Although oftentimes the Republic is portrayed as the outright hero of the Clone Wars conflict, we forget that the Republic themselves committed atrocities, first of which enslaving an entire population in the clones and mandating them to fight a war that they had nothing to do with. They were bred as warriors, with undying loyalty to the Republic, a Republic that had no loyalty to the troopers and completely disregarded their very lives. The idea of the Republic having a clone army in the first place was considered immoral in many circles in the galaxy. However, this isn't even scratching the surface on the atrocities committed to the clone troopers, and how some of them were outright bred and born into torture. To explain this though, we first have to go back to Attack of the Clones, when Obi-Wan Kenobi first discovers the clone army on Kamino. Once arriving, the Kaminoan cloners explain to Kenobi that the clones have an accelerated aging process. Accelerated aging that at the time was twice the rate of a normal human being, meaning that when a clone trooper reached the ripe age of 9 years old, physically they would be 18 and ready for combat. When the Clone Wars actually began though, the Republic ran into a massive problem, that being that the droid army, the CIS, could produce battle droids by the literal millions, and it would only take them a few days, if that, to assemble hundreds of thousands of battle droids. The Republic was hopelessly outgunned by the Separatists, and as I've explained in previous videos, it wouldn't have been outside of the realm of possibilities at all that the Separatists ultimately would have won the war if Palpatine had not intervened. Back into the topic though, because of the massive rate that the Separatists were producing battle droids, the Kaminoans took a drastic effort in the production of the clones, one that would result in inferior clones but far more of them. They took the accelerated aging process of the clone troopers that was initially developed by 2 and expedited it even further, meaning they could grow a clone trooper and they could be battle ready in merely weeks. However, there were massive drawbacks to doing this and not letting the clones age more naturally. The accelerated aging of the clones caused them to have massive genetic issues and defects because of the fact that they were cloned far more quickly. Not to mention, the more obvious reasoning is that these clones could not be trained in the more conventional way that their older brothers had been. Instead, the Kaminoans somewhat tortured the clones by installing them with memory flashes of other troopers. This was not a simple nor an enjoyable process for these young clones who at this point were merely weeks old and were a shell of the former Jango Fett template. Every young clone would have these memory flashes planted inside of their heads, and it was literally like they had lived an entire life up until that point. And to many of the clones, they believed that they did in fact live that entire life, even though this was a complete facsimile. Much of what was imprinted was training, so that the clones would be ready for battle extremely quickly. This was one of the major reasons the clone troopers bred earlier in the Clone Wars are shown to be far more efficient and effective in combat than the more younger clone troopers. And although these clones that were merely weeks old was something that was introduced near the tail end of the Clone War, it's still one of its darkest elements and shows exactly how far the Republic was willing to go to win the war. Anyway, my friends, what are your thoughts on this? And what are your thoughts on the Kaminoans' plan to produce clone troopers in merely weeks, and the massive drawbacks that this ultimately had on the Jango Fett template, and the clones that would be produced as a result of this? Anyway, my friends, thank you so much for watching. May the Force be with you, and have a great day.